noticed that God, the supposed architect of the cosmos, the grand conductor of space-time and the 100 billion galaxies, has the artistic taste and ambition of a carnival magician? I mean, really think about it. The being that allegedly spun supernovae into existence, that crafted the intricate dance of DNA, now spend its weekends making statues weep oily tears in a forgotten village in Bosnia, or helping a televangelist find his car keys. Isn't that odd? Doesn't the sheer pettiness of modern miracles strike you as the most compelling argument against an omnipotent being? Today we are pulling back the curtain on this pathetic divine magic show. We are going to look at the ancient miracles, the modern ones, and what they both tell us about the very human need to believe in things that simply aren't there. The first part, the Bronze Age telephone game. Let's start with the classics, the greatest hits, if you will. Parting the Red Sea, turning water into wine, a fellow named Jesus apparently walking on water. These are the foundational myths, the stories that have propped up entire empires of faith for 2 millennia. The problem? There isn't a shred of reliable contemporary evidence that any of it ever happened. Zero. Take the Exodus, a story involving the flight of hundreds of thousands of people, the complete devastation of the Egyptian army, and plagues that supposedly brought the world's then greatest empire to its knees. And yet, the Egyptians, meticulous record keepers who documented everything from grain harvests to genealogy of their sacred bulls, wrote nothing about it. Absolutely silent. It is like a historian trying to write a biography on Winston Churchill and finding that no one in Britain during World War II seemed to notice him. It's preposterous. And Jesus' little wine trick? Oh, that's a good one. It's a miracle so profound it's only mentioned in one of the 4 Gospels. The one written last, the only one that is by far the most theologically and poetically embellished. It happens for the first time, decades after the alleged event. Do you know who else was famous for turning water into wine? The Greek god Dionysus. His followers had been celebrating that particular miracle for centuries before your Nazarene carpenter even supposedly tried his hand at it. It is not divine revelation, it is theological plagiarism. What we have with these ancient tales is not history, it is a game of telephone, played over centuries. A story is told, embellished, written down by a generation later on, copied by a monk with an agenda, translated, retranslated, and then presented to you 2,000 years later as the inerrant word of God. To believe it is to abandon every principle of historical and textual analysis we apply to every other ancient document. It is a special pleading of the most desperate kind. The modern fraud and the glorified coincidence. But all right, let's be charitable. Perhaps God retired from the big showy miracles. Maybe he's more into subtle, personal interventions now. This brings us to the modern miracle claim. The faith healings, the apparitions, the answered prayers. This is where the argument moves from the merely unbelievable to the actively fraudulent and psychologically manipulative. Every single time a so-called faith healing has been subjected to proper medical scrutiny, it has fallen apart. Every single time. The cured cancer patient either never had cancer to begin with, or they were also receiving actual chemotherapy and radiation, medicine that works. The person who throws away their crutches and walks was suffering from a psychosomatic, not a degenerative illness. It is a cruel performance. They prey on the desperate, take their money, and perform a placebo-fueled stage show. And for every one person who feels better for a week, how many go home, abandon their real treatment, and die? The charlatans never show you those statistics, do they? And what about answered prayers? This brings me to my favorite analogy from the modern believer. Imagine a CEO who runs a multi-trillion-dollar global corporation. Instead of analyzing market data, supply chains, and every consumer trend, he makes every decision based on his horoscope. When a product launch succeeds, he holds a press conference. "You see," he exclaims, "Mercury was in retrograde, just as my astrologer predicted. It works." But he never mentions the 57 other product launches that failed spectacularly. He never mentions the billions in losses. He only publicizes the one coincidental hit and declares it proof of his cosmic guidance. That is the logic of prayer. It is the pinnacle of confirmation bias. Tens of millions of people pray for something every day. For a sick relative to get better, to pass an exam, to find a parking space. The vast, overwhelming majority of these prayers go unanswered. The sick relative dies. The student fails. The parking spot is full. But every now and then, by sheer statistical chance, a sick relative who is also receiving medical care recovers. And the credit goes not to the doctors, the nurses, the scientists, the lifetime of accumulated human knowledge, but to the Sky Father, who was for some reason ignoring the prayers of the parents of the child in the next hospital bed who didn't make it. It is not just irrational, it is morally grotesque. The indictment of incompetence. This is the central point. If we are to take the idea of a miracle-working God seriously, then the type of miracles on offer in 2025 are a damning indictment of his character. An all-powerful being watches as a tsunami scours a coastline, killing thousands. It watches as a new drug-resistant virus emerges. It watches as a school bus full of children plunges off a cliff. And it does nothing. But wait! A woman in Ohio makes a grilled cheese sandwich and the burnt pattern looks a bit like the Virgin Mary. It's a miracle! Alert the media. A statue in a church basement appears to be crying olive oil. A sign from God. A man's back pain, which his doctor called stress-related, disappears after a prayer meeting. He's healed! Are you kidding me? Is this your God? This cosmic, omnipotent, omniscient being is either the most callous, indifferent monster imaginable, or far more likely he's just not there. The miracles we're left with are the pathetic, statistically inevitable coincidences and psychological quirks that a desperate species clings to in a universe that frankly doesn't seem to give a damn about them. The truth is, the universe is far more majestic without these cheap tricks. The real miracle is that we, a species of evolved primates on a minor planet, have developed the tools of reason and science to actually understand that universe. The real miracle is a vaccine that eradicates a disease, a surgeon who can repair a heart, a skyscraper that can withstand an earthquake. These are the miracles of humanity. They are tangible, they are repeatable, and they are far more worthy of our awe than a crying statue or a lucky parking spot. Don't trade the magnificent reality of the cosmos for the cheap illusions of a Bronze Age magic show. The house always wins, and in this case, the house is reason. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time.